your home for over 18 years of horse racing action. The Sport of Kings, featuring Tommy Walski. On today's show, we'll meet a trainer from Alberta that calls Hastings home. Our race of the week features the first stakes action of the season. Tommy takes you racing across the nation. We look back in the archives in case you missed it. Our Salute to the Champions features a classic equine champion. And now here he is, BC's ambassador to the world of horse racing, Mr. Tommy Walski.
We open up today's program with a visit with one of the many new faces here at Hastings Racecourse, and that would be trainer Dale Greenwood. Dale brought 25 horses from Alberta. That's his full stable, 25 horses. And with a stable like that, we thought it would only be fitting to introduce you to Dale Greenwood.
I was born and raised with thoroughbreds. I've been around them my whole life. I got my trainer's license in 1982, so this will be my 27th year. I've been at it so long I couldn't do anything else. Nobody would want me to do anything else because I'd be no good at it. But you gotta love it. You gotta love the horses, and you gotta love the people. The racetrack's kind of its own little community, and everybody's got their own personalities. It's just you gotta love it. It's a great place and good people here.
What's brought you to Hastings?
Bigger purses than Alberta, and the lack of a new racetrack, and everything seems to be going downhill. So decided to change our venues and come where things looked a little more on the up and up. I was here last fall for the last 6 weeks of the meet, but I didn't have a lot of success. Just come over, testing the waters and making sure that it would be a fine place to come to this year.
Sure makes it kind of tough to get up and leave though, any place, doesn't it?
Especially Alberta for me, because I was born and raised there and it's home. But we've been in the process of moving for a couple of years. We spent last winter in Maryland and come back for personal reasons and had to get out of Alberta.
Yeah, you mentioned Maryland. You took the outfit there. First of all, we should know about your owner. He's a little about their stables.
Danny Dion, I started with him about 7 years ago, and he's gone from one horse to, I don't know how many he's got. He's got multiple horses now, and he's got a big outfit in Toronto, and had my outfit in Alberta, and we moved to Maryland we spent last winter in Maryland and come home because my father had got sick. And other than that, if it hadn't been for my father, we probably would have never come back to Maryland. We probably would have stayed in the East Coast somewhere. And
he shipped the whole stable here because you had to come back for your father, didn't he?
yeah, and I really appreciated that because my father ended up passing away, and I got to spend 3 months with him before that happened. And Danny was behind me the whole way, so there's not many people could do that.
And you got the happiest assistant trainer. What's her name?
Lisa McKenzie. Yes, she does a great job for me. She's on top of everything that goes on, and very knowledgeable, knows all the horses, knows what they need to wear, and very seldom ever makes a mistake.
Dale, when you go from one racetrack to another, how do you pick the horses?
Pretty much, it's not too hard for me to pick horses. Danny supplies me with horses, and he's went out and he spent a lot of money and bought good breeding, and basically my horses should fit just about anywhere we go. They might fit in a different category, but they'll fit somewhere, don't matter where we go, they're going to fit somewhere.
Is your a claimant stable?
We've got lots of claimers, but we don't start out that way. They just end up being claimers.
They have a way of doing that, don't they?
They sure do.
When you came out here, you ran in a couple of stakes, and you got.
I come at when we come out Derby weekend last year. We had a horse in the Derby and one in the Oaks and one in the Constellation, and we were supposed to fly him out, and we shipped him from Edmonton to Calgary, and the guy never showed up to load him on the plane for us from the airline, so we ended up, they had the van back to Edmonton and van over here. They were on the road for over 24 hours when we got here. I shouldn't even run the horses. They should have been scratched, but we'd put all that money into it and stuff. We run them, and they all run the same. They run for half a mile, and then they petered out. They were tired. It wasn't the horse's fault, and it wasn't, it was an airline's fault.
Strange things can happen in the sport, can it?
Right. It was, one of them things. We tried to do everything right by flying them out here and giving them, you know, 4 hours of traveling, and ended up it was over 24 hours.
How have you found it being, you're in the most unusual barn we have here. It's like a temporary barn, but it's great.
I like it. There's lots of light in there, and we don't, I've never had a sick horse. There's been lots of sick horses around, and I haven't had a sick horse in that barn, so I'm pretty happy with it right now.
Your thoughts on racing out here because you're here? What are your thoughts about what's going on out here too?
Well, with the economy, racing's hitting hard times just about all across North America. There's very few venues that it isn't. I mean, Woodbine's one of them, but everywhere else has got their own problems, and it's mostly with the way the economy's going, you know. At least what I see out here, they're trying to make things work and improve everything, and everybody seems to have a positive attitude, and I think that goes a long ways.
You go about selecting your riders. Did you bring your own rider here?
No, I didn't bring any riders. Just you just try and get the best riders that are available. I mean, Pedro Alvarado's rode a lot of horses for me, and I got Perez's getting on a few, and Frank Fuentes. So I mean, they're all the top end of the riders here at Hastings, and I just, you know, as long as my horses run good, I guess that won't be a problem. If they start running bad, probably have trouble getting them.
Dale, when you run a horse that gets beat and maybe thought should have won, does it stay with you? You remember what happened. Maybe it got beat for something that happened in the race, or there's all kinds of things that can happen to cause a horse to get beat. Maybe Plum got outrun. If Plum gets outrun, then I'm disappointed. But if I see, you know, factors where he gets in trouble in the race and gets trapped inside and can't get out, stuff like that, that's part of the game. It happens. It doesn't matter how good a horse you are. If you get in trouble, it's hard to overcome. You mentioned if you could win 25 races, you'd like to win more, obviously, but 25 would be a nice number to hit. What do we have in the barn?
Well, right now they're all real good horses. I haven't got any of them beat since I've been here, but time's going to tell. I got some horses there that are unknown quantities. We just got to get them running and see where they're at. They've come to me and they've had one or two starts elsewhere. I don't know exactly. They train like they could be a good horse, but until you up and run them against good horses, you don't know. You know, time will tell.
Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
Now it's time for our Racing Across the Nation part of the program, and first up, you're going to go to Churchill Downs. You're going to be watching the Grade 1 $500,000 Kentucky Oaks. This is the equivalent of the Kentucky Derby for the boys. Horse you want to watch is Rachael, Alexandra, ridden by, but who else? Calvin Borel.
Pace has been reasonable. There's a half mile to go. Calvin Borel still sitting chilly on Rachael Alexander. Still off the flank of front-running Gabby's Golden Gal, and now he makes a move. Just a little nudge, and they're head-to-head for the lead now, and now the tempo's starting to quicken as they move toward the top of the stretch. Here's Rachael Alexandra, who takes the lead. Rachael Alexandra takes the lead just outside the quarter pole. She did it willingly and really had no resistance whatsoever from Gabby's Golden Gal. And now Rachael Alexandra's opening up. 5 lengths on the field. 6. Oh, a tour de force by the super filly, Rachael Alexander. Calvin Borel isn't moving a muscle on her. She's going to destroy this field. Oh, super filly, you bet. What's the final margin? She might have won by 20. Rachael Alexander was absolutely spectacular in 1 minute 48 and 4/5 seconds.
Next up, we get a chance to see race riding at its finest, and I know all the riders in every jockstrom will enjoy this race. You're going to watch the $350,000 Louisville Distaff. It features a horse called Miss Isaalla, and you just watch who else? Calvin Borel, as he rides his horse to the top of the stretch to a narrow, narrow hole.
The 24th running of the Louisville Distaff, and as they have a circuit to go, One Caroline lays it on the line early, and she's out in front by 2 lengths. Swift Temper is racing in second. Miss Isaalla the Rail racing in third place, making up for a slow beginning. Unbridled Bell is now in fourth as they go towards the back stretch. Racing then in fifth position is Unforgotten, and unhurried at the back of the field is French Kiss as they go now towards the final 3/4 of a mile. One Caroline quite wide out on the track, going into about the 4 path there as she went down the back stretch, but she's out in front and clear now by about 3 lengths. First quarter was taken in 23 and 4, so it is One Caroline is still out in front. There's a gap on the rail for Burrell on Mrs. Ella, now in second. Swift Temper comes under a ride in third. Likewise, Unbridled Bell is in fourth, an all-out drive. Likewise for Unforgotten, and no show from French Kiss. They make the turn, 1/4 mile to go, and it is One Caroline, but now she has a race on her hooves, trying to get through on the inside Mrs. Ella, and Mrs. Ella is muscling her way through against the inside rail. Towards the outside, One Caroline, a right set to inside the final furlong they go. Mrs. Ella runs the rail, One Caroline on the outside. That unbeaten record is slipping from her grasp. Mrs. Ella muscles her way through. Mrs. Ella wins.
That ride was so great, we thought we would show you that stretch ride once again, and you now know rail.
Caroline, but now she has a race on her hooves, trying to get through on the inside Mrs. Ella, and Mrs. Ella is muscling her way through against the inside rail. Towards the outside, One Caroline, a right set to inside the final furlong they go. Mrs. Ella runs the rail, One Caroline on the outside. That unbeaten record is slipping from her grasp. Mrs. Ella muscles her way through. Mrs. Ella wins.
Now here's the part of the show we simply call In Case You Miss It. It's a chance for you to look back at the magic and the mystery of horse racing here in British Columbia from the Sport of Kings perspective. In case you missed it. Among the most popular players to ever put on a uniform for the Vancouver Canucks was former NHL goalie Gary Suitcase Smith, an ardent horse racing fan. You wouldn't believe how much Gary loved horse racing. A few years back, we caught up with Gary right here at Hastings Racecourse, and here it is, in case you miss it.
Across the line, Wilson going in, firing a hard one. Canadians to the line. In goes Lambert. He shoots, and a tremendous save by Smith and Lambert. Right in front of the shot by Samar. Wilson.
Well, they say that to be a goaltender, it's 75% mental, and you got to be 25% mental to play it. So when I played hockey, we used to get off the plane. When I was with Winnipeg, John Ferguson and I, the team would go to the hotel and we go to the nearest racetrack, and pretty well everywhere in North America there was tracks, and I'd make sure that I hit every one of them. And I don't really know what it is, but there's so many of us. When I played for the Canucks, there was 9 of us that had a horse. There's so many guys in hockey that just love horse racing. And it might be the competition, that you're used to the competition, and it's an extension of yourself. And because we're not little guys like you guys, you can ride them, but we would love to be riding them and to be hands-on. So if you get as close as you possibly can, and then it's just the competition is there, and it's something that I guess maybe when you get older you don't have that competition anymore because you grew up with it when you're playing, but you can't play anymore, so you need the competition, and then to have the horses that's as close as you can get to it. These horses you just almost figure like are part of your family, so if I was ever fortunate enough to have a son or a daughter play sports, I go watch my daughter play baseball, and it's the same feeling out of the races, and to watch your kids play and do well. There's a finality of it at the winning when they at the race when they cross that finish line, and I don't mind letting out the odd holler if one of the horses that I'm backing and that I'm hoping for have won the race, and I'm happy for them, and also I probably have a few bucks in my pocket over it. Coming up the rail.
When you're at the races, it seems like everybody's equal.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. We have the very wealthy and we have the littlest guy, and you're really happy with the littlest guy that maybe just has one horse, that if he or she can do well with it, and that makes everyone around the racetrack happy. It's a great close-knit community, as you know, and everybody's hoping for everybody else, and it's just a lot of fun. Doesn't mean a